Welcome to Newsbeacon, your trusted source for breaking headlines, global insights, and sharp analysis from around the world. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. In a move that was supposed to redefine North American security for decades to come, the United States and Canada announced a staggering $20 billion defense deal. This agreement, hailed as a historic milestone, was set to transform the military landscape of the continent. But in a stunning turn of events, the deal has now collapsed, sending shockwaves through both nations' political and defense establishments. The fallout has ignited a firestorm of political and diplomatic chaos, with leaders scrambling to contain the damage and assign blame. The collapse has not only exposed deep divisions within both governments, but also raised urgent questions about the future of their strategic partnership. At the heart of the deal was an ambitious plan to replace Canada's aging Victoria-class submarines with a new fleet of state-of-the-art nuclear-powered vessels. These submarines were envisioned as the backbone of a revitalized Canadian Navy, capable of patrolling the vast and increasingly contested Arctic waters. For both countries, it was more than just a hardware upgrade. It was a symbol of a new era of military partnership and shared security interests. The agreement promised not only cutting-edge submarines, but also deep industrial integration between the two nations. Canadian engineers and workers would gain access to advanced American technology, while joint training programs would elevate the skills of military personnel on both sides. The deal was expected to inject billions into Canada's defense sector, creating thousands of high-tech jobs and fostering innovation. For the United States, the partnership meant a stronger, more capable ally in the Arctic, a region of growing strategic importance as melting ice opens new shipping routes and resource opportunities. The U.S. saw this as a chance to reinforce its northern defenses and project power alongside a trusted neighbor. For Canada, it was a rare opportunity to finally project real power on the world stage, secure its sovereignty in the far north, and modernize its military after years of underinvestment. But as the details of the agreement became public, the sheer financial scale, by far the largest defense expenditure in Canadian history, sparked fierce opposition. Critics questioned the timing. As the country faced mounting economic and social crises at home, protests erupted, and heated debates raged in Parliament over whether the nation could afford such an ambitious project. What began as a bold symbol of unity and shared purpose quickly unraveled into a battleground of competing interests and political infighting, threatening the very foundation of the U.S.-Canada alliance and casting a long shadow over the future of North American security. The military logic behind the submarine deal was clear. North America's security depends on seamless cooperation, especially as the Arctic becomes a new front in global competition. Russia and China are expanding their presence in the north, making a modern Canadian Navy essential for both countries' defense. Nuclear submarines would have given Canada the ability to patrol its vast Arctic claims and reinforce its sovereignty. The aging Victoria-class fleet is no match for these challenges, leaving Canada's maritime defenses dangerously outdated. The deal's collapse isn't just a lost business opportunity, it's a blow to the shared security architecture that has protected the continent for decades. The submarine proposal landed as Canada faced a perfect storm: soaring deficits, political upheaval, and public frustration. With a $61.9 billion deficit and another $48.3 billion projected, any new spending was under a harsh spotlight. Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland's dramatic resignation exposed deep rifts in the government, while opposition parties circled, threatening a non-confidence vote. In this climate, a $20 billion defense deal became politically toxic. The public, squeezed by inflation and rising interest rates, saw little appetite for military splurges as domestic issues mounted. The government lacked the trust and stability to push through such a controversial project. The result, a government paralyzed by crisis, unable to pursue its grand ambitions. In the end, Ottawa made the difficult decision to reject the ambitious submarine deal, pointing to mounting fiscal pressures and the urgent need to focus on Canadians' most immediate concerns. The government argued that, with the economy under strain and public finances stretched thin, it simply could not justify such a massive military expenditure. Instead, leaders insisted that every available dollar had to be directed toward supporting families, healthcare, and economic recovery. Inside government, the debate was fierce and emotional. Cabinet ministers were split, with some arguing that the submarines were essential for national security and Canada's global standing, while others, led by Finance Minister LeBlanc, warned that the payments could tip the country into a full-blown financial crisis. LeBlanc cautioned that approving the deal would mean slashing funding for schools, hospitals, and social programs, choices that would be politically and morally indefensible. The political stakes were sky-high. With a non-confidence vote looming in Parliament, the governing Liberals faced intense pressure from both the opposition and the public. The opposition party seized on the deal, branding it as reckless spending and accusing the government of being out of touch with ordinary Canadians. The Liberals knew that moving forward could cost them the next election. Outside Parliament, the public debate was just as heated. Nationalist groups and anti-military activists organized rallies, arguing that the billions earmarked for submarines would be far better spent on affordable housing, education, and healthcare. Many Canadians openly questioned whether nuclear submarines were necessary at all, especially when so many were struggling to make ends meet. In the end, the government chose political survival over strategic ambition. Facing overwhelming economic and political headwinds, they bowed to the reality that the country simply could not afford the deal, at least not now. The submarine deal was not just unaffordable in terms of dollars and cents, it was politically toxic in the climate of early 2025. With deficits soaring and the threat of spending cuts looming, the government could not risk further backlash. And so, the submarine saga ended not with a dramatic announcement but with a quiet retreat. A decision shaped by economic realities, political calculation, and the voices of Canadians demanding a different set of priorities. Washington's response was swift and cold. Within hours of the announcement, the mood in the capital shifted dramatically. The corridors of power buzzed with urgent meetings and tense phone calls as senior officials scrambled to assess the implications of Canada's unexpected move. U.S. officials felt blindsided, seeing Canada's reversal as a betrayal of trust and a direct challenge to years of close cooperation. Many in Washington had considered the submarine deal a done deal, a symbol of the enduring partnership between the two countries. The Trump administration, already pushing America first, saw the rejection as a personal affront. In response, they threatened steep tariffs and announced a sweeping review of all defense and trade agreements with Canada, signaling a willingness to upend decades of economic integration. President Trump's public rebuke was immediate and forceful. He took to the airwaves denouncing Canada's decision as unacceptable and warning of severe consequences if Ottawa did not reconsider. Among the first retaliatory measures was a proposed 25% tariff on Canadian imports, directly linked to the submarine deal's collapse. This move sent shockwaves through business communities on both sides of the border, raising fears of a trade war. At the Pentagon, military leaders expressed deep concern about the strategic gap left by Canada's withdrawal. The U.S. was now forced to redeploy its own submarines to cover Canada's role in the Arctic, stretching American resources even thinner at a time of global uncertainty. The rejection wasn't just about money or contracts. It struck at the heart of a carefully built security plan, one that had taken years of negotiation and trust to assemble. Now, that plan was unraveling. Military strategists scrambled to revise their maps and contingency plans, while diplomats worked overtime to salvage what remained of the alliance. Trust was shattered, and the U.S. signaled there would be a steep price for Canada's decision. The sense of partnership that once defined the relationship was replaced by suspicion and anger. The fallout marked a new low in the alliance, leaving both nations to wonder how or if they could rebuild what had been lost. Canceling the deal only deepened Canada's political crisis. The opposition Conservatives used the reversal to attack the Liberals' competence, while military leaders were left furious and demoralized. The decision fueled accusations that Canada was a free rider on defense, damaging its reputation within NATO and with the U.S. The Navy's modernization hopes evaporated, replaced by mistrust between military and civilian leaders. Domestically, the government still faced deficits, a looming non-confidence vote, and a public demanding answers. The money saved was quickly claimed by competing interests, offering no real relief. Instead of stability, the cancellation brought only more chaos and uncertainty. The deal's collapse left a dangerous gap in North American defense, especially in the Arctic. The US must now stretch its own naval resources thinner, diverting submarines from other global hotspots to cover Canada's absence. Plans to expand NORAD's maritime role are now in jeopardy, as trust and collaboration falter. The cancellation has damaged the foundation of shared responsibility, replacing it with suspicion and frustration. Rebuilding trust will take years, if not decades. The once seamless defense shield now has a crack, one adversaries will surely notice. North America's security is more vulnerable than it's been in generations. Leaders and experts on both sides of the border sounded the alarm. US lawmakers called Canada's reversal a dangerous signal to allies and adversaries alike, questioning its commitment to defense. Canadian analysts called it a historic blunder, trading long-term security for short-term politics and leaving the Navy with obsolete equipment. Former leaders urged urgent diplomatic repair, warning that alliances require constant care. International observers saw the dispute as a warning for all NATO countries. Domestic turmoil can quickly undermine alliance commitments. The consensus was clear: the cancellation was a major rupture, not a minor disagreement. The West's security has been weakened, and the consequences will echo for years. The submarine saga has plunged US-Canada relations into their most troubled state in decades. Tariff threats and retaliatory boycotts have replaced cooperation, risking a damaging trade war. Canada, with no plan to replace its aging submarines, faces a diminished role in NATO and global security. The trust that underpinned North American defense is broken, with the US likely to act more unilaterally in the future. Defense integration and intelligence sharing are now in doubt, threatening the seamless shield that once protected the continent. The lesson is stark. Domestic politics can quickly erode even the strongest alliances. Rebuilding trust will require bold leadership, and a recognition that security for one means security for both.